Welcome to the Motorcycle Mavericks Podcast, here in the Law Tiger studio, where we get raw
and real with our good friends within the motorcycle community.
Well, welcome back to the Motorcycle Mavericks Podcast. It is a new year, and we are now back in the studio after a long little hiatus because of the holidays. And again, of course, I'm Lyonel Gammon, and I'm here with my host and partner in crime, Mr. Ari Levenbaum.
What's up, man?
Hey, it's good to see you again.
You too. I like the hat, the cowboy hat.
You know what?
Very
I
country.
have a two little obsession. Well, a couple obsessions, but two of them are cowboy boots and cowboy hats.
How many pairs of those do you have, by the way?
It's funny. My wife asked me. I bought 3 new pair in December, like Merry Christmas to myself, and that's 27 pair of boots I have.
20. I think I have 9 or 10, and I'm done. I don't wear them anymore.
Yeah,
How many hats?
I bought this. Actually, it's funny enough. I bought this hat this December. Well,
Cowboy
this past
Christmas?
December at Cowboy Christmas, the NFR. So Kinsey and I are NFR season ticket holders. So National Finals Rodeo. So it's actually the one thing that we've done our whole life we've been together. So we went for her college graduation for the first time.
Okay.
And we've never missed since. Like COVID years, we went to Dallas. We've gone everywhere with it. And over the years, I have my own hat guy.
Okay.
And nice guy named Rick. He owns a company called Heads or Tails.
Okay.
And I buy my hats exclusively from him. He has his own brand, and they're called Feemsters. And so this is a Feemster from Rick. And yeah, so I bought this one. Just this one's brand new. So
Nice.
just picked this one up in December to add to the collection. And to answer your question, I've got 9 felt beaver cowboy hats.
Nice.
And then you've got, palm leaves
Right.
and straw hats you wear in the summer.
So
But
you have a million of those, I'm
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
but it's funny. There's cowboy hat etiquette. Okay.
All right.
You never wear your straw hat or palm leaf hat after Labor Day. And you don't
It's
wear
like you're not
your-
wearing white.
Correct.
Like
it's
wearing
the same
white,
thing.
all right.
After Memorial Day, you can't wear these hats either.
So I want to know. So the guy's heads or tails. So what's the tails represent?
I don't know. I don't want to know. Because he's out of Texas, and you know how things go in Texas.
All right.
But no, so yeah, we did that. It was a good time and come
Nice.
back. But yeah, picked up the new hat and still trying to, you have to train a hat. It's like breaking in a pair
Yep.
of boots or learn how to ride a motorcycle and
Yep.
feeling comfortable in it. So you got to
Yep.
kind of wear
Nice.
it and go through the pain a little bit and
Nice.
sweat. It's not a full custom because I wear them and beat them up. So
Sure.
I'm not going to pay to have a full custom.
Yeah, custom hats can be like $1,000.
Oh, your
or
starting
more,
point's
right?
$1,000 all
Yeah.
day.
My wife was drunk in Colorado like 4 years ago. We went to dinner and she had a few drinks in her, and she stumbled upon this store that sold the what's that hat that girls like to wear? That style of hat. There's a name for it.
Oh, it's like full flat brimmed.
Yeah, I forgot the name. There's a terminology for it, and it was like $700. And I'm like, you don't need that hat. No, I'm gonna get it. And then she did like the custom thing they do, with the thing around
So
it.
they do with the paper?
Yeah, they burn some stuff.
Yeah, so here's the crazy thing about that technology.
By the way, it was my fault because the next day she's like, "Why'd you let me buy it?" I'm like, "I told you, don't buy it." But it's a cool hat.
It's funny, the way they do custom hats, and I know we don't talk hats, we talk motorcycles, but the technology for a custom hat was actually invented in the 17th century.
Okay.
Like, it's crazy how they do it. It's this massive contraption they put on your head, and it actually houses a little piece of paper about this big in the very tip top of it. And as they size it, and once it's set, they press down, and it actually punches holes in a piece of paper.
Okay.
That's only this big.
Yep.
And it's the dimension and the fitting of your head.
Okay.
So what they do is they then take this ancient technology, blow that up, and that's the exact shape and contour of your head. A
Interesting.
good hat maker will then have a wooden blank made
Okay.
to that exact size, and then they craft your hat around that blank. And then
Nice.
a good hats will always stretch and swell just a little bit with climate temperature. A good hat like that, you then put this blank right back in the hat every time you take it off.
And then it didn't.
That way it stays the same. It's always fit into your head.
Like how
so.
I have those for my shoes, the shoehorn. So
Exactly.
Yeah. Hers was not custom made, but there was something that I think they customized, like the thing that wraps around it, or
Oh, like
something,
a
the
band
band. Or something. Yeah, but anyway, I'm a shoe guy myself. The Cowboy, but you and I have this, the same guy that he did a couple pairs for you. Tony Murga Boots, and he's big on the Harley. That's kind of the tie-in, right? He does all the Harley events, like, he's done.
Yeah, I bought a pair from him this year.
Did you?
Year,
Oh, did you?
So
Nice.
I know.
Yeah, so I bought like 10, 12 pairs from him over the years, and I've gravitated from cowboy boots to Nike, Jordans, and Dunk lows.
So you
like,
say upgraded. I say it's a downgrade.
Well, it's true. I mean, they are less expensive. Well, it depends on the shoe.
No, they're more expensive.
Depends on the shoe, but I have many shoes myself, and sometimes it's a challenge. Like, okay, what do I feel like wearing today? So I obviously am rocking my Tiger. You're the Tiger Jordan 1s. This is actually my second pair. The other pair I ride motorcycles with, but they were so beat up I didn't want to wear them today to our holiday party that we're going to. But,
See, and I take all my boots and I turn them backwards.
Oh, interesting.
Because I want to make sure I'm wearing them. So I at least have to say, okay, if the pair of boots have been turned backwards, I've worn them this year.
I was wondering how you decided which boots to wear.
No, I have a shelf in my closet. I have a whole closet of my shelf, and that's where all my boots go.
So when you wear them, you turn them.
And after I've worn them, I turn them around, and after every pair of boots have been turned backwards, then it's just free for all. Now I can say, okay, I wore every pair.
I like that.
Ready to go, rock and roll.
Do you ride boots on a motorcycle?
I do. I actually, funny you bring it up. I actually bought a pair. One of the pairs I bought the pair I bought from Tony.
Yep.
Are Elephant.
Okay.
And they are a full leather Vibram or however they call it. Sole.
Rubber sole.
That way I actually have traction. My favorite pairs of boots are leather soled.
Yeah.
But they don't riding a motorcycle, you don't stop. You're on ice. Yeah. So I've got those 2 pair from Tony that I ride in.
Okay.
And then I found an awesome pair of Black Lizard this year at the NFR.
Yeah.
That are same thing, Vibram sole. So I bought those to ride in as well.
Nice.
So I've got 3 or 4 pair that it's exclusively motorcycle riding. Then I've got 5 or 6 that's horse riding, and then I've got the dailies that I like to wear.
I used to wear the Vibram soled cowboy boots when I ride motorcycles. Yeah. And now I have like dedicated like Nike, Jordan Low, and Dunk Low motorcycle riding shoes.
And everybody that we know in the Motorcycle Safety Foundation
says not to wear.
Would say, wait a minute, where's your over the ankle for protection?
I know. I don't. I should conform based on my profession and history, but it's fashion over function, I guess, or safety. But
they say dress for the slide, not for the ride. And
that's true.
You dress for the look.
I do,
which is all right.
And the comfort. And the comfort.
Listen, you do that. I do other things. We all have our own little niches.
That's true.
But I'll tell you, it's great to be back here in the studio. We get raw and real every time we're in here talking motorcycles. And I know that the new year brings in a whole bunch of new stuff.
Yes.
And one thing that I really wanted to touch on as a new year, and this is something that I've done for a long time myself, and I don't know, you may do this, is every year, not only do I look at the bikes I have, maybe the bikes I want to have, but I also look at what type of insurance coverage I need to have for this motorcycle.
Yep.
I know you have custom motorcycles. I have a few custom. I've got a couple just OEMs, just straight off the showroom floor bikes. But I don't think a lot of riders really realize what their options are when it comes to insurance.
You're absolutely right. Most have no clue of what the adequate. They're like, I got full coverage. I got enough. But they don't understand that having the legal minimum is not adequate. And that's the biggest issue.
And that's what they call full coverage.
Yeah, like Arizona, for example, where I live. I know you live in Utah. Like it's like 25,000 minimum. And what all that means is like if I've got 25,000 in coverage, that if I hit somebody, my 25,000 is all that's going to apply to the other party. Now that's different from uninsured and underinsured motorists.
Correct.
You don't have to have uninsured and underinsured motorists in Arizona. So let's say I don't have it. The 25 minimum, which is to cover the other person that I hit, goes to them. But if the other person that hits me only has 25, that's all I'm getting. If they have no insurance, I get nothing. So that's where we need to explain to people what uninsured and underinsured motorist is.
And how often do we know? I mean, I did this my first bike I bought. I never factored in what it was going to cost me in insurance.
Sure.
I factored in, okay, I want a new helmet. Yep. I want new gear. And this is what it's going to cost me a month to own this motorcycle.
Right.
Can I afford it? Yes or no?
Right.
And then you're sitting in that F&I finance office and he goes, okay, what about your insurance? And you're like,
Right.
And I know myself, I went to the cheapest liability only that would get me out the door because I didn't plan ahead.
Right.
Now, 5 accidents later, I've been down 5 times. I've learned my lesson.
Yeah.
You have to have the right insurance. And honestly, as dumb as it sounds, figure out your insurance coverage first
100%.
Before you worry about your loan payment, before you worry about do you have enough in the bank to pay cash for that. Figure out what is it going to cost you monthly, annually, or quarterly, however you pay, to have the right coverage. And I've got an example myself. So not only do I have motorcycles, but I have a boat.
Yes.
The family and I like to go out on the boat. And this literally, it's ironic that we're talking about this. This happened to me just this last year. We're cruising down the road, pulling the boat with the truck, and I get sideswiped by a drunk driver.
Damn.
Guy tries to pass 2-lane road.
Yep.
And doesn't realize that he doesn't have enough motor behind his little car.
Sure.
to get in front of me before the next truck is coming in on the opposite way of traffic. So, of course, I'm trying to speed up, slow down. You don't know what he's doing.
Right.
So, ultimately, he goes into my boat.
Okay.
And was arrested for DUI.
Okay.
Open container in the car.
Yeah.
I mean, everything.
Sure.
And had zero insurance.
Right.
And so, yes, full coverage would make me feel happy. Mm-hmm. But I was taught, and you brought it up earlier, uninsured and underinsured coverage, which most people don't know. Right. Shame on every single insurance agent out there. If you're an insurance guy and you're watching this, shame on you. Change your ways and start selling your product.
Sure. Make
some more money and educate the public on what insurance is. So I had this, thankfully. Yeah. My namesake, my father's best friend's named Lyonel, and he's been my agent for years, told me you need and underinsured coverage.
Yeah.
So this guy had no coverage. I unfortunately had to pay to have this policy.
Right.
But my boat is fixed.
Sure.
We were back on the water. The trailer was repaired. The boat was repaired. Right. Everything was fine. Little dog and pony show, of course.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have that coverage,
you'd be screwed.
I'd be out of pocket trying to fix this myself, and the boat wouldn't have been back on the water.
It's funny you mention that because we're going to have on Adam here in a future podcast, and he's been a client of ours twice, and he didn't have it the first time. And luckily, our firm was able to get his all of his medical bills reduced significantly, so he didn't owe a bunch of money. But he'll be the first to tell him you have to get uninsured and underinsured motorist. And most people don't realize it's only on a motorcycle, maybe another $10, $20 a month.
Oh, it's nothing.
And what it does is people have to understand it covers you if the person that hits you doesn't have any insurance or only has a small amount to where if you need to claim against it because of your injuries, your medical bills, lost wages, you've got that money now that you can claim against in order to get yourself whole. The other thing people don't realize is when they have a bike and they've customized it, they don't necessarily get what's called stated value, which is an additional amount to cover, but it allows you to get the money out of your bike that you put in above the stock bike, right? So we tell everybody, if you're just going to insure it for the, replacement value, which is less, right? Because you're going to get less, that's all you're getting. And I just talked to a guy last week who's frustrated because he can't, his bike to replace it's going to be $20,000 and they're only giving him 10.
Yep.
The reason it's 20 is because he put another 10 parts in it, but he didn't do the stated value, which would have cost a little more. So to me, I said, everyone, if you're going to customize your bike, stated value, pay the extra, and you have to get uninsured and underinsured motorists, call your broker or your agent or whatever it is, whoever you buy your insurance from, and tell them. And I recommend $500,000 in uninsured and underinsured motorists. It's not that much more. Even if you start with 50 or 100,000, but on a motorcycle, you can't afford not to have it. You have to have uninsured and underinsured
At the end of the day, we're taking a risk. We ride these bikes for fun. We know the risks there. If you hit the ground, you're going to pay. You're going to pay in pain. You're going to pay in suffering. Don't make the financial component be on top of it all.
And don't rely on the other person who oftentimes, like about a third of all people on the road generally don't have any insurance. And then probably another third or more have the minimums. So you can't rely on the other person to cover you. And you think, I can tell you so many people are like, oh, it's unfair. That guy hit me. Wasn't my fault. Or like, look, all we can claim is what insurance they have, and usually they don't have assets, so it's not like we can go after them for all this other money. So you got to protect yourself. You got to have the UMUI.
Well, that's cool because you say uninsured. Excuse me, underinsured. Pardon me, underinsured.
Right.
So that's the same guy who bought the way I bought.
Right.
Was told full coverage, and I associated full to my gas tank.
Right.
Meaning I can't put anything more in it.
Right.
But the state is saying that's your bare bones starting point.
Right.
So if that guy takes me out,
right,
I have to have a separate policy just to protect myself from those yardsticks.
Right.
So it's sad the way that it goes, but the best thing to do is, like you said, call a broker, call an agent, and do not let them pressure you into the lowest dollar figure.
Right.
Know that the less you pay now, the less you get down the road if you need it.
And don't shortchange yourself. I mean, let's be honest. It is a responsibility from both the insurance company and us as consumers. So, don't, in some states you have to sign off that you're denying UMUM coverage. So when you're doing that, that's usually on you as the rider trying to save money. Now, maybe you weren't well versed in it, you weren't educated, then obviously there's some responsibility on the person that you're dealing with on the insurance side. But let's be honest, there are people I've talked to that also didn't want to spend the extra couple $100 because they'd rather put it into Chrome or a piece on their bike. And that Chrome's not going to pay you when you're, in a wheelchair, or you're out of work for 2 weeks or a month, or you have a hospital bill or an air vac bill or a ambulance bill that is far in excess of the insurance that the other guy that hit you has. And let's be honest, you get picked up in an ambulance, you're in the hospital for a couple of days, you're talking $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. Your insurance policy from the other guy that had 25 is gone. What about lost wages, long-term pain and suffering? What about future medical care? I mean, 25 grand doesn't do shit for you. That's not going to do anything. You get a Tylenol in the hospital, it's like $100.
Yeah.
I mean, they jack you. And we can get the hospital bills reduced. When I say we, not me, but our team. Obviously Law Tigers are our sponsor. And good lawyers can get the medical bills reduced, the liens reduced, but still doesn't mean you're going to have money in your pocket or be fully compensated if there's not enough insurance.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's just something that I think people need to hear and understand. It's something that we feel strongly about, and a lot of people don't know enough about. Call your insurance company, your broker, your agent, whoever you deal with, and ask about getting as much as you can. And if you can get it on your car and your car will cover you on your motorcycle, ask about that too. Because sometimes you can stack or can pull other policies into your insurance.
Well, and when you're asking that question, don't ask the singular closed question. Don't just ask for uninsured and underinsured coverage.
Sure.
There is a pile. There's a massive menu of insurance that you can have. I mean, I've heard of guys that have, multiple umbrella policies.
Right.
And I'm not an agent, so I don't know these things. But
sure,
the problem is we get sold 15 minutes for 15%.
Right.
And so I'm thinking of how cheap can I get? Race to the bottom.
Right.
And who's winning? The insurance companies are. And unfortunately, we are not a well-educated consumer public to know about this. So we've got to take the time. So ask those questions.
Yeah.
Take it from Ari. Take it from me. I've been down. I've had the guy show up in the hospital from the insurance company with a quick check, knowing that they've got to shut me up.
Right. And you don't want to sign. You got to talk to a lawyer, whoever it is. I'm not advocating for one firm over another. Talk to an attorney that understands motorcycle law before you deal with your insurance company, because they're going to shortchange you. And you mentioned umbrella. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but for those that are like, what's he talking about, umbrella? That's really something that covers you beyond the max. Let's say you max out at UM at $500,000 and liability, meaning comprehensive and collision on your own to cover yourself. You can get even more coverage on this umbrella, which will cover you on all your vehicles up to, it could be, I know people that have $5-10 million and you can get $1 million umbrella. So it's additional coverage to cover you against someone else that claims against you if you injure them. And also that umbrella can cover you if someone hits you to protect yourself to collect more. So I am a big believer in umbrellas. And they range in cost depending on how many vehicles you have and your coverage level. But I have a ton of umbrella and coverage for liability to protect myself if someone comes against me, and also to protect me if the person that hits me doesn't have enough.
I'll give you one more thing, insurance that will rock your world. You talked umbrellas.
Yeah.
I have insurance policies on horses.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize that this is a money-making industry, the world of insurance.
Sure.
A lot of us feel like it's kind of our own little charity bank to help us out when we need. We just pay the money and they're always there for it. No, it's a business. You can insure nearly everything. I've got 5 horses, all insured to different values, to different policies, because they cost too much money. And I can't just leave it to happenstance or to a whim if something happens to them. So
100%. Is there such thing as a horse lawyer if you don't get paid on your insurance?
I don't know. Maybe there is. There are livestock horse insurance brokers. I have to go through a separate broker to handle it all.
Interesting.
And separate policies for each horse, and there's different brackets and age ranges. When the horse gets this old, you can't insure it to this level anymore. It has to be a different and I have to renew the policies. I have to have a vet check, so the vet's got to check the horse out to make sure the horse is healthy. And crazy. It is a long and unfortunately, most of the time those insurance policies are, you have to have a loss.
That's crazy.
So loss of use, meaning the animal is deceased. It's not just,
Right.
He broke up his leg.
Sure.
We're going to fix him, pay out. Nope. It's typical loss of
Loss
use.
of use, yeah.
That's the thing, is we all get pulled into this game.
Yep.
Like you said, a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
And we're the only losers. And we're the ones that are living our best life on these motorcycles and
Right.
loving every minute of it.
Right.
And most times we don't think about it. So
Right.
think about it now in the
Right.
beginning of the year. Jump in, call your guy, call your gal, whoever
Yep.
it is. Ask these questions. See if it fits into your
Yep.
finances. Maybe you can't do the modifications you wanted to do this year. Maybe you can't buy the next bike this year.
Right.
But make sure you're doing it right for yourself. Do it right for your family so that you can ride this year with us. You can ride next year with us. And we
100%.
pray and hope that it doesn't happen to anybody. But we know that accidents do happen.
Yep.
It's part of motorcycling.
100%.
But don't leave the rest up to somebody else. Take it upon yourself.
I agree. And, there's 100,000 motorcycle injuries and fatalities across the country every year.
Way too many.
Way too many. And even if you have UMUIM, which I want you to get, there's times where when you do need it, when you're in an accident, God forbid, you will need most of the time someone to help you claim against it, even though it's your own insurance, because the insurance companies don't like to give up money easily. So that's where you're going to have to get some help from somebody, a reputable law firm that can help you get the money that's entitled to you. But the insurance companies are always fighting not to pay because they're in business to save money, unfortunately. And so anyway, but we wanted to make sure starting off, now that we're into the new year, that all of our viewers make sure that they protect themselves and they get the appropriate insurance in case something were to happen.
Well, and nobody likes spending money on something you don't get.
No, of course
So
not.
I want to talk now about something that I want to spend money on.
What's that?
And I'm super excited about this.
Talk to me.
So I don't know if you've seen this or not. So have you heard of Zero motorcycles?
I fucking hate them. Sorry, I shouldn't say I hate Zero. I just don't.
Come on now.
I don't like electric motorcycles.
Okay, but do you know the history of Zero?
I like electric scooters, by the way, stand-ups. I do not.
Okay, so Zero started in California.
Okay.
I think Monterey, don't quote me on it.
Yeah.
But they've been in the marketplace probably 14 years, give or take. I think
Okay.
they may have been one of the pioneers at actually getting the EV bikes out there. So long story short, what I'm excited about is the CEO of Zero Motorcycles just announced that in 2025, they're going to release 6 models
It's a lot.
at under $10,000 investment.
Very reasonable.
So what gets me excited
Did
is,
they go any more than 200 miles though?
I don't know. I don't know anything more than just the fact that
right.
he's rolling out a brand new bike off the floor
Okay.
at under 10 grand.
Fair enough.
And I don't see anybody else out there doing that. You have a few manufacturers that have a few smaller size bikes that are doing that, but do they have what an EV can offer? Now, I don't know what they're going to
Sure.
offer, but we know the potential
Sure.
of the power of the delivery, the speed you can have on an electric vehicle.
Well, I have an electric stand-up scooter that's like 80 mile an hour fast, and the both wheel motors turn. It's like holding on to a rocket. They're fast.
So if you could have something like that for under 10 grand, I mean, you can sign me up all day. Like that to me sounds like fun money.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I personally, I want it's got to have like a combustion engine, but maybe things will change, when I'm like 75 years old. But for now, I ain't doing it. But I understand where people could be interested. It's funny.
But times are hard. A brand new motorcycle under 10 grand.
That's true.
I think they're going to sell out like crazy. I think they are going to fly off showroom floors.
You think guys our age are going to buy them?
I don't know. Maybe it's the new generation that's going to buy
I can
them.
see like these young 20-something-year-olds maybe that are already used to, like around my neighborhood, all these kids are riding around on these electric bikes and electric motor. I mean, they're like derelicts. They're like wheeling, tearing up the neighborhood. In my local neighborhood newspaper talking about how these kids are creating havoc.
Wait. You have a local newspaper in your neighborhood?
It's called the Arcadia News, and they were talking.
I want to
about,
meet this chief editor.
Yeah,
That's the next guest.
No,
Bring in
it's
the
cool.
editor.
It talks about like all the stuff going on in the community, but
It sounds like an overpowered HOA to me.
well, they don't charge anything, but
The Levenbaum household
Yeah.
has loud motors again being revved
that's
at
right.
all hours
that's
of the
right.
night.
But it's funny because these kids are like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and they're doing wheelies down the neighborhood. They're hanging out at the Safeway, and apparently there's news of them like throwing water bottles at cars. It's like a whole like biker gang. It's these kids starting out young, creating. But anyway, my point is those kids, I could see getting into bikes like that maybe when they turn 16, 17, 18, because that's all they're used to is being on electric motocross bikes and bicycles, right? So
Well, let me ask you this though. Yeah, young generation, great.
Yeah.
the new Harley 2024 CVO rolled off the showroom floor at what, 42 grand?
50.
50.
My buddy just said that 50, but you can get them for about 40.
Okay. But not a CVO, right?
You can get a CVO for 40 right
for
now.
40. Okay. So
a 23 CVO discounted from 50 to 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're interested, we'll tell you where to go. It's a
That's
hot
right.
deal. Go get it now. But my point is, how many riders out there can actually afford that brand new motorcycle at $40,000 to $50,000?
Very, very few.
Maybe this CEO's onto something.
Could be.
Instead of bringing down a underpowered another motorcycle,
Right.
400cc, or I'm estimating. I have no clue now. Motor. I have no idea what these bikes are going to
Right.
be. But maybe he's onto something. If you're
Sure.
going to get EV to catch on,
Yeah.
maybe you bring the price point down.
Yeah.
Give a gal the satisfaction of knowing I bought my very first bike, or I bought my very first brand new bike.
Sure.
Maybe that's what's going to spur and jumpstart this EV motorcycle trend.
Sure.
I mean, look at Tesla. So I read a report that just said that of all people that bought Tesla EV, well, not Tesla, let's just say all EV solo powered vehicles,
Yes.
85% of them bought them, would not buy them again.
Would not.
Would not.
So
buy
they're
them. Now,
going
this is
back
based on
to
the report. They're
going back to
they're
like
reverting
hybrid
back.
or yeah. What was
Because
the reason for that?
What they were stating in this report, and I should have pulled it because I don't remember who did it, but they were saying that the reliability for the long distance isn't there.
Yeah.
And so they originally bought these vehicles to be their primary source of transportation,
Okay.
but now they're limited.
What's funny? Go ahead.
Now they're going back to their internal combustion engine as their primary.
Right, right.
Their EV is their secondary.
Well, it's funny you mention that because I just talked to a friend of mine who just bought the new Escalade EV, and it's already thrown codes and having issues. I've talked to other folks that have had battery issues where the car batteries have to be replaced. I've heard issues. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist that you can tie like all that battery to like cancer and other issues because of all that energy coming up from
on your floor. It's on
the
your feet.
floor. Yeah, especially when you're charging the vehicle. So who knows what's going to happen long term? But I know a lot of car manufacturers are now slowing down their transition to to electric only because it's either people aren't buying. Like I know, like I've read about like Porsche, for example. They have all these electric cars that can't sell because people don't want them, so they have to give them away for like 20 grand off. And I think part of the problem also is, to your point, they still don't go far enough. They're expensive, and there's issues. But at some point, let's be honest, with the regulations, we're probably going to be all electric in 20, 30 years. As much as I hate, pains me to say that, but
to the credit of like Tesla, they tout that Tesla is the number one car manufacturer in the world.
What is that supposed
based
to mean?
upon their sales versus production numbers. And I'm like, wait, that's a sliding scale though, because when you're not producing to the numbers of the big boys, the Ford, the Chevy,
right,
and you're producing a smaller amount, yes, you're selling them all.
I
Ford
see
and
what you're
Chevy
saying.
sitting on inventory. So
yeah.
you can't say that, but I just look at it and I think, okay, Tesla has something really cool in the EV world.
Yeah.
Style, I think they're great.
I disagree.
I don't like the Tesla. I don't like the Cybertruck because I don't think you can call that a truck. You might as well call it a minivan, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But their advertising is none. It's all like word of mouth.
Sure.
That's how they really built this whole thing. So that's where, going back to zero, I wonder if this CEO is onto something.
Could be.
Entry level, dirt cheap bike, brand new off the showroom floor. If they throw some money at it, maybe it's a loss leader. Maybe they're going to put it forward and say, okay, we're going to lose on all 6 of these models in 2025. But come 2026, when everyone's seen the market with these bikes, we're going to start pricing them back where we need them to be.
Sure.
And maybe they're going to be the revolutionary ones that do it. Tesla's not doing that.
No.
No other manufacturer
So
is
Harley,
bringing
does
in.
Harley have a low price bike? I'm not aware of that.
Well, that's funny you bring it up. I mean, Harley's lowest price historically has always been that Sportster.
Yeah, but electrically. Electric
That's another thing you can talk about. Harley introduced the Livewire.
That was like 35,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was 30, 35.
Yeah.
But that was it.
Yeah.
But now, of course, there's been a separation of Harley and Livewire.
I thought they have 2 models now. There is a second model.
I think there is a second one
which
now.
is less, but I don't know if it's
But
under 10.
I still don't think it's under 10.
No, yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's under 10 either. Yeah.
But you can't even say Harley now, because with the separation of Livewire and Harley, it's a standalone brand. You purchase your Livewires now online.
Sure.
They're delivered directly to you. You don't have that Harley feel and interaction.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I don't think price point was anything near what Zero is attempting.
Yeah,
Now,
well-
granted, this is all talk, right?
Right.
This is somebody, a new CEO saying, "Hey, check me out.
Sure,
This is what we're
sure.
going to do." He'll probably only roll out 2 models.
Well-
and he'll probably roll them out at $999.99
Right.
to actually get them out the door and say it was under 10.
Yeah.
But
Well, let's talk about that because I know 2024 was a tough year for the motorcycle industry, right?
I think it was an impossible year.
Yeah, I know that, at one point motorcycle sales were flat early in the year. I don't know if they've reported yet end of year numbers. It usually lags, but let's be honest. They had these amazing years during COVID, right, where people were buying bikes. Companies like KTM, which we can talk about in a minute, that's now, under some financial troubles, ramped up production. But then you had higher interest rates and you had demand come down post-pandemic. And now you've got companies, many motorcycle companies that are struggling because high rates, high prices of bikes, and the motorcycle demand has gone down. So, from this guy's standpoint, if you can provide less expensive bikes, albeit electric, maybe that'll stimulate some sales in cases where people maybe wouldn't have bought a bike. But, KTM's got 90 days now to bring in an investor money to stay afloat.
Yeah.
They own MV Agusta, Gas, and they may have to sell off those brands. Great bikes. I mean, KTM are amazing dirt bikes and street bikes, but again, less people are buying the bikes because of interest rates, because of the economy, and that's affecting other brands as well, right? And who knows what's going to happen in 2025 in terms of like bike sales. Are they going to continue to plummet? What's going to happen with dealerships? I mean, there's a lot that could happen if bike sales don't swing back up, right? And I don't know what's going to happen, but obviously we want to see the industry come back to where they were, in 22. But that was obviously a lot of pandemic related and the free money going from the government and subsidies and
people weren't commuting to the office,
right?
So you take those small costs that those are,
right,
and it starts piling up.
And they want to do something different. So
and we're told to segregate. We're told to stay alone,
right. So
stay by yourself.
Bikes, right?
So what they do, they bought a bike and they went out. They went and enjoyed it. I think it's interesting you talk about the KTM situation they're in, and KTM really doesn't play well in the field that I'm in of street riding.
Right.
Great in the dirt. All that stuff. I mean, I know the Gas brand is, from what I was told, was doing really, really well. Now maybe that as a standalone it is. So I find it interesting that they're struggling because you would think you would really know who your market is.
Well, they do have street bikes though. They have some nice they have some nice sport bikes and adventure bikes, but they're a small manufacturer, right? They don't have a huge number of units they put out.
But I think their 450 dirt bike has had just glowing reviews.
They're great bikes, yeah.
And so
their 790 is great. Their 1190, 1290 Super Duke.
Makes you wonder what's the missing element here. Well, is it the consumer? Is it the price point?
Who knows? Or maybe they have a lot of debt they've taken on, or they overbuilt during pandemic, and now they can't sell the stuff. I mean, there's so many variables when you're talking about. I have many friends that are dealer owners, and you have a manufacturer, then you have a dealer, and the manufacturer's job is to produce bikes. The dealer's job is to sell bikes. Yep. But when the manufacturer is overproducing, and the dealer can't keep up because of high rates, low demand, that eventually catches up to the manufacturer. And then at that point, they got to either scale down in quantity of production bikes, make less to bring the demand back up, or lower prices. And so it's a complex problem to deal with when you're a manufacturer. Yeah. And that's above my pay grade, of course, but you can cut, no, it's fine. You can cut it out. That's fine.
You're absolutely right. There's a lot of elements that come into play to it. I always think when it comes down to it, what is the consumer wanting?
Sure.
We go back to, EVs.
Yeah.
You won't own one.
No.
Not till you're 75.
I don't know if I'll ever own one. I think I'd rather have a trike than an EV.
Yeah. See, but now you're crossing the streams here. Okay, they're different, right? But I'm looking at it going,
no, they're the same. I wouldn't buy either of them.
What is KTM? Have they missed the mark? Has the mark moved?
Right.
Or I don't know, are they trying to be too inventive? Are they trying to break out in other ways that's just not catching on? We know that when you try something new, it takes years to catch on. And nothing's overnight anymore. I mean, you can say overnight success, but that's 5 years of prep to get you there.
Or maybe there's just too much competition. I mean, let's face it. I mean, there are so many good bikes. KTMs are great bikes. No one can question.
No.
The dirt bikes, the adventure bikes, the street bikes. But they also have obligations. They're with MotoGP. They spend a bunch of money there. Again, who knows what their overhead is and what their debt is. A lot of these companies have huge debt loads, and if you can't pay your debt because your income isn't covering your debt, then it catches up to you eventually, and you got to file bankruptcy,
so
right?
in 90 days, is that what you said it was? It was 90
They have
days?
90 days to, it was like a self-imposed like restructuring. So they got to get a third party to invest in the business. So if they don't do that, because they have debt, they have financial obligations to lending institutions that have lent them money. So they can't meet their financial obligations, then they have to basically file for bankruptcy and sell off their assets, and then maybe someone will buy the brand and the inventory and relaunch them, for pennies on the dollar. I mean, obviously you don't want to get to that because then you got to fire people and you've got to, this is a brand that employs people and it contributes to, the riding culture and community. So you don't want to see it, but there's so many other brands out there that make quality bikes, and who knows what their financial, position is.
So in 90 days, am I going to be smarter money buying a KTM or buying my $10,000 EV bike?
Well, it depends on
in
what
the
kind
opinion
of
of Ari here.
Depends what kind of deal. I'd still rather have a KTM, but I like their adventure bikes. I obviously have a Pan Am, which I love, but if I was going to do more dirt riding, I would definitely look at KTM as an option. But I'm a Harley guy, and actually I'm pretty excited because I have a friend that's building me another FXR. So let's talk Harley. Let's go back to Harley.
another FXR.
Well, I have one that Jason Mook built for me at Deadwood Custom Cycles, which I absolutely love. But another friend, a well-known bike builder who go unnamed for now.
That means the deal's not done, right?
Well, the deal is not paid for, but he's asked me if I want it. It's going to be an FXR police bike that's going to be like a hot rod that happens to be getting unveiled at the Evo Friends Throwdown that you're coming to.
I am coming. Yep. This is I've known about the Friends Throwdown. You guys have had different variations. What was it? Choppers, and then there was a FXR. Then there was a secret surprise, or I don't know what that one was all about. But yeah, this year I saw about it, and it's Evos. Yep. So I've got an 88 Evo that I've done up. Yep. And I'm going to be, I guess I've learned the term now, okay, that I'm now considered a crasher.
You are crashing.
Means nobody knows that I'm coming. I'm just showing up.
It means you're not invited.
Although
you are invited. Yeah. You are invited.
I'm going to ride in the back, and I'm just going to say I showed up and was there.
So you're a crasher the first year, and then you become a distinguished attendee.
See, I don't want to be distinguished because see what that is? That's called financial commitment. Because that means next year they're going to come up with some crazy thing, and even if I show up, I got to have that.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to come up with for the following year, but yeah.
I'm excited though, Evo, because I've always loved the Evo motor.
Yes.
I mean,
I used to have two of them.
Everybody I don't care what anybody says. You can talk bad about an Evo, but every bad thing you say about an Evo, there's always a good thing that goes along along with it.
They're bulletproof, yeah.
I mean, they are. They're powerhouses. They may not get you down the road the fastest.
Yeah.
They may not be the most responsive.
Well, it depends on what size Evo motor you have.
Correct. And what's been done to it.
Yeah. I've got a 108 in my, is it a 108 Evo? I think. SNS. I have I think it's a 108 and it rips.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now an 80-inch stock Evo is a different story.
Well, yeah, but still, it's the fact of what they can do, the capability, the possibility behind it. And I honestly, there's probably somebody who's a better historian at Harley than I am, but I mean, the Evo was ran for what, 20, 30 years, I think?
Yeah, I had it on two of my 96 bikes. Yeah.
I mean, and mine right now is an 88 with an Evo.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a long-standing bike.
Yeah.
And I've always had I say love-hate relationship. My first I had was a 96 Heritage.
Yep.
Sold it to a gal, sad story. Bike had sat, I told her, hey, it needs a fluid job, right?
Okay.
Take $300 off the sale price, whatever it was. Go to the Harley dealer. This is the guy. Carl will do it. Whatever. Run into her a month, 2 later, and she's MFing me up and down. You sold me a lemon bike. Blah, blah, blah. The bottom half of that motor blew out, and I'm like, what? Like, that's an Evo motor. You can't do. They're impossible. Like, they are, like you said, bulletproof. Like, did you get the fluids changed? No. I'm like, well, you are the culprit of destroying a beautifully made motorcycle motor, all because you don't pay attention. But I've also loved them because a dear friend that we have, mutual friend, Jeff Decker, a mutual friend that we have, Scott Jacobs, did a wonderful painting called The Evolution.
Yep.
And I don't know if you're familiar with it. And it's the one on my list. Like, I've just got to hunt it down. It's so cool. It's got a caveman, and he's literally chiseling out an Evolution motor out of stone.
That's cool.
And it's just got a cool, rugged feel to it. But I'm excited that the guys are doing the Evos this year.
Yeah, we're actually moving it. So in the years past, it's been in Winslow, Arizona, like the famous song, "Stand on a Corner, Winslow, Arizona." So that's where it was, at this really iconic hotel, and we go for the day before, hang out, have dinner, chill, look at each other's bikes, and then ride, through Pine and into Arizona Bike Week. This year, it's been moved to Cottonwood. So we're going to Cottonwood, where the big rally is always every year. Now, it's not the same time as the rally, but we're staying at a really cool hotel in Cottonwood. We're going to be going to a place that Maynard, the lead singer of Tool, owns, which is this cool winery and restaurant right next door. And we're going to hang there, ride, and we're going to be riding this year, like we did last year, to Cave Creek Bike Fest at the Roadhouse.
Nice.
Mark Bradshaw, who's actually going to be a guest coming up here on our podcast in the future. So he owns Roadhouse and Hideaway. We're going to be going there with the bikes, and I'm excited that you're going to be there. I'm excited that the bike that is being built for us, the FXR P.
Yeah, you keep talking about this bike. You better stop.
I'm going to stop
the bike's
because I don't
not
want to give
done
away.
yet.
I know.
You haven't bought it.
I don't want to jinx myself.
At the rate you're going, it's going to fall off the rack. It's going to hear
Hopefully
you
not.
talking about it.
I know.
You're going to get a call from this builder going, hey, JK, that bike's not coming.
Nah, it'll be done. It's going to be, knowing this builder, I think everyone's going to be very impressed with this bike when it's done, and I'm an FXR guy. Love him.
Will he be riding it, or will you be riding it?
Well, I don't want him to ride it, because the last time he rode someone else's bike, he crashed it in Rocky Point. So I don't want him riding any bike that I'm going to own. Anyway, he'll probably be riding it, but that's okay. It's all good, and I don't know if I'll be riding it or not. Probably he'll be riding it. We'll see. Anyway, you got to check it out. We'll be filming some cool stuff that we'll be posting about it. And I think if you can't make it, then you'll get to see what these guys do, because they do some amazing work at these events.
Well, and what's cool about it is this whole Friends Throwdown start off, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong as I talk about it here, it was just a bunch of guys getting together and saying, hey, let's build this type of bike. Let's just meet up in Winslow at the time and just go for a ride.
Right.
There's no trophies. There's no bragging rights. It's more of just like, hey, show up. Let's enjoy the time together. This is what we all do.
Yep.
Let's do it and see what we can take, the same platform, the same motor, the same concept, and where you go with it, where he goes with it, where I go with it.
Right. And these are like the best, some of the best builders in the world, in my opinion. And they're very different. Some of them are, West Coast chopper style. Some of them are, radical. Some of them are just horsepower guys. Some of them are more on the creativity side and design aesthetic. So you get a very varied group of like 15 guys that are all there, that are really good at what they do, and they have their own creations. And the only commonality is usually the motor, right? The type of motor.
Yeah.
Or the type of frame, one of the two. So that's going to be very cool. So that's Arizona Bike Week. We actually have some cool stuff coming up that I know I'm excited to go to, and I think you're going. We got Donnie Smith coming up, right?
Yeah, well, before that, I'm going to go to the Daytona rally this year.
Okay.
So I'm going to hit Daytona in the spring.
Okay. Some people love that event, and some people, I would say, I think it's either you love it or you're like, yeah. And I don't know. I think it's more because of there's not as much riding. I think that's the people that are not really totally like hip to it. Like I got guys that are like, oh, I love Sturgis. Yeah. But I think the riding is maybe the difference.
It's been told to me it's a commuter rally.
Yeah.
Because you're more or less commuting in normal day-to-day traffic, trying to get to one place to the other. I've been before. I'm excited to go this year. I spend most of my time right there from Destination Daytona, and then just straight up the road, to where Iron Horse, Beaver Bar, where all the bars and that are. I mean,
but you're there working, right?
Yeah,
you're not
but I
there
don't venture
socially,
very far.
Yeah.
But it is, to your point, it is a very different rally.
Yeah.
Any other rally you go, it's very well concentrated, and there's other rides you can take. Now, granted, Florida has beautiful riding.
Oh, amazing! Yeah.
But I just think when you're stuck right there in the Daytona Central hub,
right,
your best bet is hit the racetrack, hit Destination Daytona, hit the bars. You got to go down Main Street once.
Sure.
Main Street's even getting difficult now.
Sure. Do they race on the sand anymore?
I don't know if they do or not. I know that there was a spot that you can pay.
Yeah.
And they'll let you just drive on the sand.
But no racing.
But I don't think there's racing.
That's what I think is needed. They need to have like a motorcycle race.
Bring back the nostalgic of it.
Yeah, I agree. Does Billy still do a race there?
So Billy does. That's what's interesting. You were saying racing. I was actually going to complain about the amount of racing.
Yeah.
Because typically you have King of Baggers will hit there at Daytona Speedway.
Okay.
Which is great.
You have American Flat Track, right?
What's that?
You have American Flat Track also?
Then typically you have American Flat Track.
Yeah.
But there's like 3 racetracks out there.
Okay.
So then you've got all these different races. It's kind of hard to know where to go and what to see. The race you're referring to is Sons of Speed, put on by Billy Lane.
Yep.
Absolutely amazing. Vintage motorcycles is what they're running.
Yep.
Typically it's no brakes, it's single geared, it's everything old school, which is amazing. But I think you have a demographic that gets lost in the options. You show up in Daytona and you've got Party Central, you've got beach, you've got motorcycles, and then, oh, by the way, you have motorcycle racing of every type and genre you'd ever want.
Sure.
Go pick one.
Yeah.
And so I think it gets difficult. That's where I struggle with it. Because I'd love to go watch King of Baggers.
Sure.
But then I also like the vintage stuff. Well, then I want to see the flat track race. And it's like, wait a minute. Now I'm $2,000.
Do they conflict? Do they conflict?
No, it's just during the time of the rally. But I'm also a normal rider. And I only have so much money in the little wallet here. So when you go out there, it's like, okay, if I go see everything I want to watch, I'm not going to ride. Sure. I'm going to sit, and it's going to cost me $2,000 just to.
But on the flip side, I don't know cost on these things. I don't pay to go to them. Can usually get tickets from someone. But if there's not that much riding to do, you can only go buy stuff from vendors for so long.
You're right. There's only so many concerts you'll go to.
So many concerts you go to. So if you are a race enthusiast, you have those options. You also can take a ride. I know Orlando's not that far away if you want to take a ride there, but I don't know. It's not the most scenic ride, obviously.
Yeah, you're cruising the highway, which is still fine.
Yeah, but it's still an old rally, and it I'm sure has some. Obviously, I really enjoy going to Destination Daytona.
Yep.
And they're good people over there, and there's a lot of cool vendors and lots of stuff going on there. You got the campgrounds, you got other places to go, but
Well, what you bring up at Destination Daytona is what I like. So Destination Daytona has been blessed. And I'm going to call a couple names out here. They've been blessed by getting Terry Reimer.
Of course.
So Terry, of course, if you're not familiar, he was the guy that really ran the rally at Exit 55 at Black Hills Harley Davidson.
Yep.
He made that.
And he's a big flat track guy, too.
A huge flat track guy.
Yeah.
He made it kind of the one-stop shop to come to have your motorcycle customized, performance, everything done. Mm-hmm. So he worked endless years to bring everybody in at the rally at Exit 55 during the Sturgis rally.
Yep.
Where you and I could both roll in and roll our bike to 15 different guys and roll back out the next day and the bike's done. Well, now he's done the same concept over there at Destination Daytona. So if you're in there early enough, of course, there's a hotel there so you can stay on grounds, entertainment, there's been, walls of death, everything else, but you really don't have to go anywhere if you didn't want to.
But you have JP Cycle next door, right?
JP Cycle's right there.
Of ours.
And then you have every one of these vendors that comes in that sets up full installation. I mean, you can have motor work, easy stuff, of course, bars, fitment, exhaust, stuff like that. But there's even stuff where guys are doing full turbo kits installed out there.
Sure.
So you could really stop in there, and do it all,
of them over there,
and then get back out and actually enjoy it. And then it'd be fun to cruise the highway. If you slapped on a turbo on a bike that you rolled in stock, and then take off with a new Thundermax and turbo, you show Florida what's up.
You can actually go with. You're right. With all this stuff, you got Hoffman there, you've got Clock there, you got Trask there.
You've got the seat manufacturers.
You could literally go in with a stock bike and come out.
Even better, you just go buy the bike there.
That's even better.
What you should do is just fly in with your backpack.
That happens a lot.
Buy the bike and literally just roll it out and hit one after the other.
Nice.
And then leave.
Perfect.
So we talked Daytona, and I'm going to give you a full recap of what I think and how it goes this year.
Yeah, if you want, I don't know if I
Well,
want.
you got to,
I'm just
at
kidding.
least got to know what it's like. I mean, it's the world we live in, right? And it's
I'm
something
just
that
messing with you.
a lot of people love it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's been
yeah.
going on for years, and it's an integral part of the riding community.
Yeah.
It is what it
Have
is.
you been
We
to
all have
Panama
our
City?
favorites.
Have you been to Panama City, by the way?
I've never done the Panama
I've
City.
heard good things about that event. That's obviously the Panhandle. It's a little farther northeast, right? No, northwest. Yeah.
You know what my problem is with these rallies? The ones that are on the East Coast, because I live in Utah.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the butt for me to justify jumping on an airplane, taking off, calling, borrowing, renting a motorcycle, and having a good time. Like, I can have a good time.
We need to
wherever.
buy a house in Florida.
Oh, apparently. But it's like, man, it's just, do I really want to go that far out there? Do I really want to ride that stock bike? Do I really want to do that? And so then I'm rationalizing. No. We'll do Sturgis bigger this year. No. We're going to go to Arizona Bike Week and stay an extra 3 days instead.
right.
Justify it in other ways. But it's interesting that everyone's talked doom and gloom about the rallies for a long, long time. That, they're going to go away. They're going to die. And yet,
they're still around.
I think attendance maybe peaks and
I
and
think
valleys.
the industry is that way. I mean, look, pandemic things went up, and now things are coming back down, and then eventually they'll come back up. The whole industry kind of has peaks and valleys and cyclical, and that's just, I think, the world we live in.
My favorite thing about the peaks and valleys of the motorcycle industry and sales, we talked about sales, is everybody talks about new units, right? Now, I'm guilty. I have never bought a brand new motorcycle. So you can talk about peaks and valleys all you want.
Sure.
Because I've been the guy buying used, previously loved, as Harley likes to call it.
Yep.
I've always bought the previously loved bikes.
Nothing wrong with that.
So I'm going, wait a minute. You can say the industry is going up and down, up and down, up and down, or it's tanked. It's doing terrible after COVID. I'm like, maybe to the manufacturers, but what about to us as normal rider consumers?
Sure.
Because those bikes, for the most part, are still on the marketplace. They're still out on the road. Some are wrecked, totaled. Some leave the country. We know a lot of actually leave the country.
But you still need to have new bikes in order for there to be a flourishing secondary market, because that's what the new bikes feed the secondary market over time. So,
and I say I'd get that EV bike, but I don't think there's a Harley in the Harley line right now, or Indian for that matter, that I would ride.
Really?
There's too much technology in them for me.
Dude, I love the new ST. That's going to be my next build is a lowrider ST. But I like the styling. I like performance, but I also I just got a BMW K1600B,
which has way too much technology.
Yeah, but I love it though. It's still cool. I think obviously if you have the ability, it's always cool to have an old, if you can do it and afford it, you have an old bike and a new bike, so you get the best of both worlds. But that's just me. So we talked about Daytona. You've never been to Laconia, have you?
I've never done Laconia.
So you got to do that, because to me that's beautiful riding. You got the lake. You've got
and they just had the 100th.
Was it 90 or 100? It was one of the two. It was a big.
It was more
year,
than 90. I know it was more than 90 because Sturgis this year is 85.
I thought it was 90,
and I know
but it could be
Laconia is higher
100.
than that.
But
I
it's
think
90,
it's
100, something like that. But yeah, but you've got I think it's Lake Winnipesaukee, whatever that lake is. But it's beautiful lake, and you have the foliage. It's very pretty. But coming up, I'm excited about coming up a little bit down the road is Donnie Smith, which we both go to.
Love
Obviously,
that show.
Donnie's just a treasure to the motorcycle community and industry, and so that's his big event that he puts on, which is a great event.
To me, that
Winter Nationals.
Winter Nationals,
yeah.
That one to me, even though it happens after Daytona, is to me that's the official kickoff of the riding
Is it after?
It is after. Yeah. Because
what's the date on that?
Daytona's like the 1st of March. Don't quote me on this.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
But then Donnie Smith is the latter
March,
part of March. But for me, even though there's that small separation, it's always the Donnie Smith show kicks off the year for me.
It does. It snowed last year when I was there.
It was terrible.
Yeah, it snowed.
It was absolutely terrible because I was supposed to test ride a bike out there, and it was blizzarding, snowing.
The event was good.
I went to go ride in the snow and had the gear, but it's too cold, too wet.
Yeah,
but
the event was good.
The event's amazing.
Yeah, you got cool bikes. You got a lot of new stuff coming out. I thought that was great. And then obviously we got Arizona Bike Week coming after in April, which is always a great event. Weather's usually pretty nice. And there's going to be some cool stuff going on up at the Hideaway and Roadhouse. Cruisy's doing some cool stuff coming up. And we'll have him on one of these days in the future to talk about what he's doing with him and Blockhead, and also the stuff he's going to be doing out here in Arizona. I think at the casino, doing a big weekend-long event with stunts and lowriders and all kinds of cool shit that's kind of geared towards a different segment of the riding community, right? So
it's nice to see somebody breaking the mold.
Yes.
And I think Ryan's breaking the mold.
He is.
I think he's pushing the envelope.
Yep.
He's breaking the mold. He's taking the risks that everyone's talked about taking.
Sure.
He's finally putting rubber to the road.
Literally.
And doing it.
Yeah, literally. It's true. Yeah, we had him at a Rocky Point. He was with us there a couple months ago, and that was a lot of fun in November. You got to check out that rally if you haven't done it before. Rocky Point Rally in November. So there's so many good events.
I just want to know how many people out there, how many riders on the road actually are planning their rally schedule like we plan ours, and how most people probably plan their family vacations.
Probably.
Because see, the family vacations are centered around the rallies I want to go to.
Right.
Like we fit in the family time in between here, there, and yonder because I know I want to go to Arizona. And I got to go to Donnie Smith, and then Sturgis is coming up, and the Four Corners is after that, and it's like
100%.
No, we got to start lining things up in between.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's for some folks, they get a couple weeks off a year, so they've got to plan accordingly, and the hotels get expensive if you wait too long. So you definitely need to plan in advance if you want to get the most value out of or you got to get your bike running, obviously, but yeah, lots of cool events.
No, you should never need to get your bike running.
Well,
it should
some
already
people do.
be running.
Well, if you live in Utah, it's sitting there for
no. They're parked. They're parked, ready to run.
Well, that's you. I think you're the exception.
You got to take those precautions, because that first day it hits and it's dry.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the guy going, "Oh man, I didn't winterize it right."
That's true.
Oh man, it won't start.
Bad gas, whatever, or trickle charger doesn't work, and now you have a dead battery. So
you can't just park it and forget it.
Well, I'm excited about this year. This is we just started this podcast last year, right?
Yep.
Motorcycle Mavericks, and I'm rocking my shirt, which I won't always wear, obviously, but figured I had a polo on today, so I figured I would put this on instead. But we're gonna have some amazing guests, right? Some of the top builders, some of the top event promoters, influencers. I know people are gonna really want to tune in to see the varied guest list we have, right? And I just can't wait to have these people on.
Well, and it's not just the guest list. It's the fact that we want to get raw and real with them. We want to show them the side that maybe you don't see in Easy Rider magazine, that when you're flipping through Cycle Gear, you see this guy at an event or this gal at an event, you don't realize who they are, what they're really about. We want them to open up here, and that's what we're going to... If we got to liquor them up a little bit, so be it. But we need.
And they may not talk to us after we're done with them here. We may be estranged after asking them some tough questions, but that's okay.
We'll do it.
That's okay. So it's good catching up with you, obviously, and I'm glad that we're doing this again for another year, and I think the best is yet to come.
Yep, we'll keep after it.
Let's do it. All right, man. Well, till next time.
Yep.